7.
A powerful experiment that could change the world, I believe. Next, Oprah.
Now, time for the first half music highlights presented by Sprint, featuring a special performance by U2. See the complete premiere of U2's performance at ESPN.com. Search Rose Bowl video.
Low-scoring first half with Bob Davie and Kirk Herbstreit. I'm Brent Musburger, back at the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Bob, what surprises you the most in this game?
What surprises me the most, 0 penalties. Only 1 turnover, and the tackling has been outstanding. 3 things that you normally worry about in a bowl game because of the long layoff. This shows me there's 2 focused football teams out here, even though there's not a lot of points in this game.
You know, and I know you're a defensive guy, and I love to see good defense. And if you missed the first half, this was not sloppy offense for a 3-3 halftime score. This was outstanding defense on both sides of the ball. If I'm a quarterback in this game, or I'm a senior offensive lineman, I'm going to get right into the face of my offensive lineman and challenge them, because both offensive lines were completely dominated in the first half. Whoever comes out in the second half better prepared on the offensive line is going to win this game.
Home Depot coaching adjustments, and let's start with Michigan, Kirk.
It goes back to the point about being able to establish the running game. Michigan cannot win a football game without having the ability to run the football to set up the pass.
And if I'm Pete Carroll, I throw the football in the second half. We tried to run it in the first half. Michigan #1 in rush defense in the country. Booty's got his confidence back. The pass protection's been pretty good. We are a pass-first team. Let's throw the football if I'm SC.
John David Booty, 10 of 16 in the first half for 102 yards. No touchdowns, obviously, and no interceptions. And he will handle the ball to start the second half. Chad Henne on the other side was 8 of 12, 85 yards. And no interceptions either. Just that 1 turnover was a fumble by USC. And so Garrett Revis with the ball on the tee. The sun starting to set here in Pasadena. And this will come out on the 20-yard line for John David. So our first half stats here, Kirk, and they look this way.
Well, the thing that stands out, of course, is at the bottom here where you see 5 sacks for the University of Southern California. And you think about that and you'd think, boy, what a great advantage. They must be winning this game. But because of the way Michigan's defense has played, Coach, no penalties for either team. We've got a tight ball game.
And that's the great news for Michigan. It's only 3-3. They're a run-first team, Kirk, so they don't have to abandon what they do best. Run the football, even though they're struggling right now on offense.
They open with Jarrett in the slot. Patrick Turner is the 3rd wideout, along with Steve Smith. So 3 wide for the Trojans. And they will put it up on first down. Smith coming through the formation. And he's run out of bounds on the 29-yard line. Willis Behringer, the safety. So the impact players for the Trojans, their big 3. There we gave you John David's numbers. CJ, he has been held down to only 17 rushing yards. But take a look at Dwayne Jarrett. 6 catches already for 58 yards. Now a second down and short, but just as you suggested, Bob, they put it up on first down.
Yeah, and remember, Michigan gave up 316 yards passing and 4 touchdowns to Ohio State. Throw the football.
Gable is the tailback, trying to get the first down, and Michigan defense very stout. Prescott Burgess, number 6, is in there. Short of the first down, and now the Trojans will face a 3rd down. They have used as a fullback Alan Bradford, the freshman from San Bernardino. He goes off to the side now.
It's amazing. USC had gone 63 straight games of scoring more than 20 points. Prior to the UCLA game, they scored 9. Here they are stuck on 3. but against a great defensive team.
Mike Brittingham in at fullback the last time in. They threw to him, but he is lined up in a power fullback formation here. And he'll lead the way for Gable, and the Wolverines jump the play at the point of attack. Terrence Taylor gets there first, number 67, the sophomore from Muskegon.
And this is the #1 rushing defense in the country. And I mean, they just attacked the line of scrimmage. The big nose guard, Terrence Taylor, at 315 pounds in the middle.
So much talk about Alan Branch and Lamar Woodley. Terrence Taylor often as a sophomore goes unrecognized.
Boydneck punts it, and Bruston. Fair catch signal at the 31-yard line. And so there, Chad Henne. And the Wolverines will have their first series of the second half. The Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Tied at 3. Mike Hart averaging just a little over 2 yards a carry. And he is in a deep set, you can see, behind Chad Henne. They're going to try him right away. A little bit of a gash. His longest run of the game was the opening offensive play. Ellis making the stop. We look at the Wolverines. We gave you Henne's passing stats. There you can see Mike Hart, 9 carries for 21. Mario Manningham with only 2 catches, Kirk, for 30 yards.
We talked about Mike Hart and Michigan having to establish the run here in this second half. He's the spark plug. He's the emotional leader. I'm sure he is challenging that offensive line to step up and help him out in this offense out.
Manningham's off to the left. They're going to run hard again. Got the first down. So it looks like they picked up the tempo a little bit, but they're running more to the right side, Bob. They favored the left side in that first half.
Well, the other thing, Brent, Mike Hart's one of those guys, the more you give him the ball, even though he's small, the better he gets. 4 times this year, he's had over 30 carries. They're going to put it on his back now in his second half.
And it was one of the first times we've seen since maybe the opening drive, the offensive line getting a good push and getting up to the linebackers there and giving Mike Hart some room to run.
Arrington and freshman Greg Matthews are the wideouts. Matthews is off to Henne's right. They're going to keep it on the ground.
You know, you always talk about in the zone blocking scheme that the running back has to be patient. I also think the play caller has to be patient. There's times when we're going to take the zone away, but then all of a sudden, somebody's going to break down on gap control for the defense, Kirk, and there's your big run. So not only the running back, the play caller has to be patient as well.
And one of the adjustments we've seen here from Michigan early from Mike DeBoer is trying to mix in 2 tight ends and going with Mike Hart back there by himself.
Needing 8 yards. On a play fake, under pressure, wanted the screen, throws a pick. USC ball at the 39-yard line is Lawrence Jackson. The defensive end blows up the screen attempt.
And Pete Carroll comes with the blitz. Both outside linebackers, Keith Rivers and Dallas Sartz from the outside. You see Chad Henne on the little play action. Here comes Sartz, and he panics and throws the football to number 96, Lawrence Jackson. Kirk, but again, the pressure with the double outside linebacker blitz.
Pretty good feel there that time by Jackson as a defensive lineman to read the quarterback's eyes and realize he had his head on a swivel looking for a back, and the ball just happened to hit him right in the chest.
It is possible that it was emphasized to Henne during halftime that he had to get rid of the ball. He rushed that one a little bit. First down and 10 now for John David Booty off a play fake. Completes it to Smith. Picks up about 6 yards on that. Morgan Trent, the defender for the Wolverines. The last time, Bob, that the Trojans stocked the end zone, they turned it over on a fumble.
Exactly. And Brent, you go back to that previous turnover by Michigan. Michigan leads the country in the fewest number of turnovers with only 10 in 12 games. So a great opportunity right here for USC.
Chris Graham comes onto the field defensively. Alan Bradford is out for the Trojans. Play fake. Booty rolls hard to the right, throws in underneath, and picks up the first down with Bradford catching his first pass of the game. So the young man we heard about today from Pete Carroll, he said he liked how he's practiced. He's a redshirt freshman from San Bernardino.
And they are coming out doing exactly what, Coach, you and I talked about at halftime, and you said here at the start of this second half is you leave the running game with the exception of from time to time sprinkling it in to let Michigan know you have that ability to do it. You put the ball into the hands of your quarterback and you mix the play calling up. Try to move the launch point around, which they've done a very good job of moving Booty around here to start this second half.
Straight back. Throws to the big man. First and goal, Dwayne Jarrett at the 2-yard line. John David Booty delivers a strike. 25 yards.
And what is really tough about that, John David Booty rolled away, and a great little hidden shoulder fake by Dwayne Jarrett to get inside Morgan Trent.
Dwayne Jarrett sets this up perfectly, and the timing, Booty anticipates that and throws the ball while Jarrett is actually in his cut.
Play stopped on the field. As you know, every play upstairs is reviewed.
The previous play is under review.
So they'll take a look at it. Make sure that Jarrett had possession. It's certainly from the naked eye, although we certainly didn't have a look at the front of the reception. So let's take another look at it.
That is once the contact comes over, safety doing a nice job of separating Jarrett from the ball. It's a matter of whether or not his knee is down before the ball comes out.
I thought his right knee was down, but I am certainly not the decision maker in this process. There was no question the ball was loose, but then the whistle blows down there too. So let's not forget that.
Exactly, because the whistle blew, nobody recovered the football.
I think he'll be down right there.
I think they're going to rule that knee was down, and then the football came out.
You know, we'll see. It was the ball was loose in there. I mean, there's no question. And Jack Childress, the ACC referee, has got it, and looks like Lloyd didn't like the news.
After further review, the play stands as called on the field. First down.
So it'll be a first and goal from the 2-yard line. Coach Carroll talking to Dwayne Jarrett to go back on a story we covered in the first half. This well could be Dwayne Jarrett's last game. There's a pretty good wide receiver down at Georgia Tech by the name of Johnson, who had a huge game. And on many lists, he would figure to be #1. So a lot of these youngsters have to weigh, if we stay another year, might be next year. Anyway, here comes John David Booty, wide open, touchdown, nothing doing. As Chris McFoy rolls wide open for the touchdown. Breakdown in coverage that time, and John David Booty's first touchdown pass in his last 6 quarters.
The Trojans take advantage of the Michigan turnover.
Danello. Slips it inside the post. So the afternoon's first touchdown boosts the Trojans to a 7-point lead, 10-3, 8:43 remaining in the third quarter. Downtown Pasadena, and we're at the Rose Bowl with USC leading 10-3. John David Booty, the first touchdown of the game on a pass on busted coverage against the Wolverine defense. We'll take another look after the kickoff. Let's see what Bruston can do if he handles it. Beeler with the ball on the tee. He's handled the kickoff duties today for USC. High and short. Here comes Bruston from the 12. Surrounded short of the 20-yard line. Tremendous coverage. Let's go back to the score.
And this play action on the touchdown is really difficult to defend for this defensive back right here playing man-to-man coverage. He gets action right at him, but Chris McFoy runs away from him, and that's stealing right there. Throw and catch.
McFoy getting away from the defender, and the play side defenders, I think, were consumed with Fred Davis, the tight end who was right in front of them. They all collapsed up front, making an easy throw to McFoy in the back of the end zone.
Trailing for the second time this afternoon. Chad Henne changing it at the line. Running Hart. And there was Mawaluga as we check in with Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie?
Well, Brent, Michigan defensive coordinator Ron English up in arms after the busted play on that touchdown. That was example A of what it has driven him crazy the entire season. He said, we have veterans in the secondary, yet they haven't paid heed to the analogy that if you touch the hot stove once, you don't go back to the hot stove. You're supposed to follow your guy, play hard, execute, follow the goals we set at the beginning of the season. He doesn't have an explanation for what happened, but unfortunately, it's been a bad pattern for Michigan's pass defense all year.
Second down and 8 coming up for Henne. And incidentally, Dallas Sartz, number 42, is back on the field. He missed most of the second quarter. Here's Hart. And he is being taken down by Keith Rivers, the junior from Lake Mary, Florida. He's a youngster who got away from the Gators. It was between Florida and USC, he told us, and he opted to come west.
And Keith Rivers told us he went back home to Orlando, Florida over the Christmas break. Took a lot of grief from the Gator fans. But that time, again, one thing the zone play usually does, zone blocking, it takes away penetration. And that time, Keith Rivers just shot the gap.
Those linebackers are flying downhill right now to Michael Hart before he even has his hands on the ball.
3rd and 7. Henne and the Wolverines need to get beyond the 30. In trouble, under pressure, incomplete, and it could have been picked off. That was Thomas, and a shot at it. Manningham, the intended target. Henne under enormous pressure.
This is starting to remind me of the USC-UCLA game that you guys did about a month ago, but on the other side this time.
The opposite, because both defensive ends, Lawrence Jackson and Kyle Moore, almost forced that thing into an interception right there.
Nice blitz again, mixing up the looks, confusing the offensive line is exactly what Pete Carroll wants to do.
Now Mesko, early on in this game, he was under enormous pressure. Here's Reed from the 40. Penalty. Illegal block was thrown. That is the first penalty of this Rose Bowl game. And it came with 6:26 remaining in the third quarter.
Brent, I think they're going to get Mike Brittingham.
It's our guy.
The fullback who made an impact catching the football on an illegal block in the back right there.
During the return, number 30, blocking the back by the offensive team. That's a 10-yard penalty, first down.
You mentioned the first penalty of the game, a pretty obvious one right there with the block in the back.
So the Trojans will come up. After the penalty, they'll have the ball on their own 30-yard line. Chad Henne has been under enormous pressure. That's the highlight of the game. The Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. The sun's starting to set on the granddaddy. 2007. Where does the time go? Well, first down and 10 now for the Trojans. They lead it by a touchdown, and they have done it. Jarrett juggles that one incomplete. They have done it the way Bob Davies suggested that they do it. They've gone airborne in the second half.
They have thrown on 1st and 10 every single time here on the second half, and relying now on John David Booty and his group of wide receivers. That was the advantage coming into the game. If Booty would have time to throw with his offensive line, they felt that they could attack the Michigan secondary, and that's what they're doing here in this second half.
Looks like we've got a timeout called by the Trojans. And John David will go over to Pete Carroll's sideline to talk about it. Now here is the interception which led to the touchdown.
Yeah, this is exactly how Chad Henne did not want to start the second half. Maybe forcing it there, getting rid of the ball a little bit early, and then setting up this easy throw for John David Booty after he threw the SC offense, threw him right down the field with his arm.
But again, it's all generated from the pressure. That interception was a direct byproduct of the pressure that Pete Carroll has continued to bring on this Michigan offense. And, you know, one thing if you're Michigan's offense, and I talked to Lloyd Carr about this yesterday, when you commit to the zone running game, you only have 2 running plays, an inside zone and an outside zone. And the fear is when someone takes that away, what do? You don't have a counter. You don't have a lot of misdirection plays. And right now, USC has been able to take that zone running play away.
And Lisa, a lot of smiles over there on the USC sideline.
That's right, Brent. It was that play. That's when this USC sideline came alive. Players, it had been pretty quiet down here until that point. After that defensive interception and leading to the touchdown, players no longer just standing on the sideline. They are waving their arms, jumping up and down on every play. Tight end coach Brennan Carroll even jumped up on the bench, turned to the crowd, waved his arms and said, "Wake up, too quiet in here." Brent?
Well, the Wolverines, who have lost 3 straight bowl games under Lloyd Carr, are down 10-3 right now with the defense on the field. And there's our second penalty, folks. You can book it.
That's a pretty good penalty, getting that 315 pounds moving in one direction. Right?
I'd say.
Offside, number 67, back contact, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Michigan is without a sack. We've talked a lot about the USC. 5 sacks in the first half for 33 yards and losses. This very good Wolverine defense is without a sack of John David Booty. They have moved the pocket with John David a little bit, but he has played very well. His release has been quick. His running backs have blocked well to protect. Second down and 5 for the Trojans. There's a play fake. There's Booty rolling again. Throwing in underneath. Picking up Davis for another first down. And there is no question, Bob, but that John David Booty is more agile today than he was earlier coming down the stretch against UCLA and Notre Dame.
There is no question, and that's the adjustment USC has made. Again, if you don't blitz against this play-action pass, those kind of crossing routes, you see Fred Davis right there, they're virtually unstoppable against zone coverage with no pressure.
I think a lot of people wondered how USC would be able to slow down Michigan's pass rush after the UCLA game. And as we've talked about, it's the snap count, it's chipping on the defensive ends, it's moving Booty around. It's a bunch of different things that have added up to a lot.
Under pressure, hit on the release, incomplete. Booty standing tall in the pocket. That'll be noted by the coaches. They and teammates appreciate and admire toughness. When you know the heat's coming and you stand here like this, you're going to take a licking.
Again, Sean Crable, the outside linebacker at the top, to Fred Davis. They kept the tight end, as Kirk mentioned. He just couldn't block Sean Crable. And fortunate Booty wasn't injured right there because he was in a vulnerable position.
See, I think Ron English is going to start to turn up the heat himself by bringing those linebackers more and more. They've had a lot of success when they have brought number 2.
The short drop, Smith on the snap, runs those precise routes, breaks free. 35-30, brought down from behind at the 21-yard line. Leon Hall, the senior, hauls him down.
And it really reminds me right now of the Ohio State game. The quick pass and then the missed tackles by the Michigan secondary. This is exactly what got them in trouble against Ohio State.
The goal of the game for Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin was to isolate the safeties and the corners, put them in space, utilize the speed of Steve Smith and Dwayne Jarrett, and force those Michigan defensive backs to have to tackle.
First down and 10. Now it's Booty's turn to change it up. Washington's his running back. On the slant, touchdown USC, Jarrett. Here's a memo to Keyshawn. That'll work in the NFL too.
And how about the check by John David Booty. Michigan went straight man-to-man, and he just went to the slant route. And Dwayne Jarrett with the big body just out-muscled Morgan Trent to the outside.
And a great throw to the inside away from the defender, and that's a mismatch. Dwayne Jarrett against Morgan Trent. You will take that as a quarterback every single time, and all of a sudden, guys, John David Booty is in rhythm, getting back and getting rid of the ball on time.
Danilo misses this one off to the right. 16-3 on the missed extra point. So here is Jarrett breaking free. 8 catches, 105 yards, and now a touchdown. Pete Carroll and the Trojans are dominating suddenly. So the Trojan sideline all smiles. They have scored touchdowns on their last 2 possessions. And they have taken a 16-3 lead as there was a missed extra point. And Bob Davie, the forward pass turned it around.
Well, there's no question USC is a pass-first team, and John David Booty is in his comfort zone right now.
10 passes and only 2 runs. So here comes Bruston. Wolverines need something good to happen right here. He vaults to the 21-yard line.
And Brent, let's take a look at what John David Booty saw at the line of scrimmage. It's a pretty easy read. He sees Morgan Trent, 1 DB right here. The next DB is clear over here, so that means he has all this area to work with no defensive back.
And once he recognizes that and makes the check, it's just a matter of the best receiver in the country, or one of the best receivers in the country, getting physical and just being just a lot stronger than Morgan Trent. He got great position to the inside.
Wait a second. That should have been a penalty right there with that little fadeaway jump shot. It's like the New York Giants thing, right?
It's getting old already. It started about 3 weeks ago.
Chad Henne reaches now to Mike Hart. Back on the left side to the 25-yard line, and Lawrence Jackson, who made that big interception just prior to their first touchdown. Here's Ron English now, trying to keep the troops fired up, trying to keep their heads in the game.
We saw this Michigan team in Columbus down 28-14. We saw a lot of enthusiasm when they came back into the game. He's talking about his jump shots here on the sideline. We saw a lot of enthusiasm in Columbus when they fought back. Right now, we're not seeing any enthusiasm. They need a play to spark them.
2nd and 6. Henne sees the blitzer coming. Steps away from the pressure, drops it in underneath. And Manningham to the 41-yard line, and a 1st and 10 before Thomas turns him upside down.
One of the few times USC doesn't bring pressure, and you actually see the quarterback, Chad Henne, coach, with some time to throw the football.
Exactly, and what bought him even more time, he stepped up again, and you see Mario Manningham on the crossing route right there. Boy, good lick right there by Terrell Thomas, who came into this game with really a separated shoulder.
He did that in the face of a safety blitz from Kevin Ellison. He saw Ellison coming all the way, and Ellison was picked up by Reuben Riley, who did a great job of picking up the blitzer. 1st down and 10 now for the Wolverines. There's that quick strike over to the side. Pick up a couple of yards, but not much, as Keith Rivers is over there with Kerry Harris, the corner, and Manningham quickly escorted by one of the side judges. Good officiating over there.
And I go back to this, the experience of Chad Henne. 37th start. Could come out as a junior, announced already he's coming back to Michigan. A lot of players would panic. I don't think Chad Henne's going to panic. And because of that, Michigan still has a legitimate shot to get back and win this football game.
If the offensive line will help him, he has a shot.
Bruston and Manningham are out of the game right now.
That means they're going to run it, right?
No, Arrington's down there. Fumble on the sack. Jumping in over the top. SC recovered it. No question at the 31. Jack Childress is right there. Brian Cushing, his 3rd sack of the game, forces the fumble.
Brian Cushing Let's try to find him. He comes on an inside twist stunt right there. He looped inside from his defensive end position. He ends up beating Adam Kraus, number 57. This is another huge turnover.
And Jackson, Lawrence Jackson, who made the interception, recovers the fumble, and Carroll and the Trojans sideline explode.
This is on its way to being a Pete Carroll clinic film. He's going to be able to use when people come in during spring ball to talk about his blitz schemes. This is exactly how he envisioned this football game going with his defense against his Michigan offense.
1st and 10, and Pete Carroll telling us the other day he's about to bring in what he thinks is his best recruiting class ever. As John David Booty throws a strike, almost one-handed by Jarrett, had the left mid on it. Overled him just a little bit. Jarrett had broken free at the end, and John David knows it. Just a few inches difference, and that would have been another 6.
Well, they had exactly what they wanted right there. A little outside moving and stem back inside, and he beats the safety Willis Behringer. And even when he doesn't catch it, it kind of looks spectacular, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, Behringer brought onto the post corner to the outside, making it so easy. And well, that's one you typically would see Booty and Jarrett connect on.
Now 2nd and 10 for John David. Drops it off in the flat. He overthrows. And was it a lateral? There's a youngster reacting well to that as Gable went after the ball in case it was thrown behind him. And it would have been a free football out of bounds on that side.
Second half, talk about bowl games and intersectional matchups. Pac-10, Big Ten. First half, not so much, but second half, we're seeing a lot of speed from USC against the Michigan defense and an offense that just cannot stay on the field with the Wolverine, with the USC team right now.
3rd and 10. Complete short of the first down marker. Comes to Fred Davis, his junior tight end from Toledo, Ohio. Brandon Harrison makes a stop.
One guy we need to talk about today is Kyle Williams, number 78, the offensive tackle. I mean, this guy had 3 false starts against UCLA. He was crucified in this city for his performance. He left the team for one day. He came back. It's good to see him playing well and bouncing back.
Going to go for it. 4th down, empty the backfield. They'll have 5 targets for John David.
It's straight man-to-man coverage across the board.
And he keeps it himself. So John David Booty takes it right straight ahead for the first down. Oh, you were talking about the tackle, the right tackle, Kyle Williams over there. Let me see exactly where he got the spot. Did he not get it? Lamar Woodley gets credit for that stop. And you were talking about the tackle, Bob, and Kyle and both Sam Baker. They were both criticized for their performance against UCLA. They have held up very well. There's Kyle, number 78. Here comes this measurement, and I may have miscalled this. Nope, first down.
Not very often you don't hit it right now. Huh? I'm telling you what.
I'm starting the 07 season in the right way.
I know.
I sweat now.
I know.
That was luck. Pure luck.
Well, they felt the pressure from the outside, and what a gutsy call here on 4th down. You're going to rely on Booty, try to a little unorthodox way of picking up a first down, but the pressure, I think he probably he is fired up.
You really think he's going to the Arizona Cardinals now? As much fun as he's having?
I don't think so.
Come on,
he tells me he's got the best recruiting class coming in. First down and 10. Never thought he was going. He keeps telling me he's not going. That's what he's telling everybody. And play fake, in trouble. And incomplete, so it'll be 2nd down. Folks, I want to go back to practice a couple of days ago. We were out at practice. That man right there is the first head coach I have ever seen come down the field on kickoff coverage. Now they weren't in full pads, so don't be misled. But they had about 14 guys coming down. There is Coach Carroll running down on every kickoff. He was trying to strip the ball, and yes, he was blocked a little bit by one player later. Then afterwards, he got into a passing drill You know, he's had an injured shoulder this year, but he was snapping off strikes. It is really different when you go to a Pete Carroll coach practice, and he really enjoys this. High, incomplete.
You know, and it's actually genuine. I've been to a lot of his practices, and he's the only coach in America that has a loose practice on, especially the day before the game, but at the same time, they're getting stuff done. They're moving around. But the fact that it's genuine, the enthusiasm from him, even right now on the sidelines, that is who he is. And that's why I think he is a perfect fit in college football.
He gave me a great answer. I said, how long did it take for the pain of the UCLA loss to go away? He said, you know, within 2 or 3 days, I was back to work. But he said, part of me will never forget. And that's the way it should be when you lose one like that. 3rd down and 10. John David firing middle, strike to the 9-yard line, and a 1st down. That is Smith. So Steve Smith, now he's a senior, and he'll be interesting to watch because he'll get a chance in the National Football League too.
And we talked about Kyle Williams, 78. Right there you see John David Booty step up and deliver the football, something against UCLA he didn't do. He stepped up and panicked right there because Lamar Woodley was coming around the corner.
And a thing that I see that Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin are having John David Booty do, attack the middle of that Michigan defense, right behind the linebackers between the safeties.
Terrific performance by John David. Empty again. High and incomplete. Going to Jarrett. Now it'll be 2nd down and goal.
You know, we were around the football complex. You got the feeling that Mark Sanchez, everybody talks about the backup quarterback, the coaches included, how much talent Mark Sanchez has. I had the feeling coming to this game, John David Booty really did need to play outstanding, or Mark Sanchez might be in this football game.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Sanchez will have a chance, there he is, number 6, to win the job regardless of what happens today. Pete Carroll told us everything is wide open when he comes to spring practice. And with this talented freshman class, he said every job will be up for grabs, including the quarterback, no matter what happens. Throws incomplete. Twice tried to go to Jarrett, and Brandon Harrison was there on number 8. And young, talented wide receiver from New Jersey, New Brunswick, New Jersey.
He says that about his quarterback. And if he wins this game, replacing Matt Leinart with all the offense that they lost, and he finishes with 11 wins and probably close to a top 5 finish, he might say that to try to light a fire to keep him motivated with Mark Sanchez, but it would be tough to take John David Booty after all that game experience from this year out of that lineup for the 07 season.
So here's your 3rd and goal now for the Trojans. And they're going to call a timeout. So they'll use up the 2nd one with 58 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. We look down on our scene here in Pasadena. This aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear Tires, featuring triple tread technology. Well, we've talked a lot about USC, and we should mention again what we said at the top of the broadcast. It was our opinion that whoever won this game, will enter next season as the preseason number 1 for a couple of reasons. Both have star players coming back next year, and both have solid recruiting classes coming along. So for those reasons, we would tout the winner of this. And let's take a look now. Here are the players returning next season. Take a look at the list here, and you see the 2 question marks at the bottom. Dwayne Jarrett and Alan Branch. So, Coach, what's your feeling about these lists?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever seen this many talented players announce that they're coming back. And to me, that tells me about the chemistry of both of these football teams. And that's why whoever wins this game, in my opinion, will be the number 1 ranked team next season, because players don't come back if the chemistry is not right on the football team.
Well, the thing about USC is they're such a young football team. I mean, Dallas Sartz is one of the few seniors involved in this team. So they're going to all be back. And Michigan had so many of their guys, as Coach talked about, deciding to come back. And that does affect things. Both these teams, regardless of the outcome of this game, are going to be in the top 5. But the winner will be the preseason number 1 team.
Third down and goal. There's going to be a little bit different kind of pressure up in Michigan, though, if they lose this. We're going to talk about this in the fourth quarter. Third down and goal. John David Booty with the backfield empty. Touchdown. No. Wave it off. Thought he had it for a second. I thought Jarrett was going to grab it. They wave it off. So it is fourth down, and they send the field goal unit on the field.
Again, Coach, attacking the middle of the defense where there is just huge voids in the Michigan secondary.
Tell you what, though, Willis Behringer made a great play right there and jarred that football. David Harris coming in really got the football out. But you're right, Kirk. The middle of that field is open right there. How about David Harris? That's a heck of a play for a linebacker.
That is a great play. That's what it'll be like when he plays Sunday football.
Sounds like we're reviewing this.
Yeah, I think that, again, on the college review play, there's not a challenge. They're just reviewing the play. You can take a look as he goes up in the air, grabbed it.
There's a good look at it right here.
Yeah.
Incomplete.
Officials very quick today on the reviews.
And you know,
we appreciate that.
I tell you, Dave Perry made an excellent point. Indisputable evidence is the key. Well, if it's indisputable, they should be able to make the decision that quick because that is indisputable evidence.
For whatever reason, it's been a challenge throughout the 06 season, but today it's been outstanding.
So here's Danelo's field goal attempt. Remember, he just missed an extra point. This is a 26-yarder. Slips this one through. 19-3. Trojans lead it. A quarter and 48 seconds left in Pasadena for the Wolverines, who came in here with a 3-game bowl losing streak. And reminder now, on Wednesday, catch one of the hottest new comedies of the season. Everyone needs a little life support. In Case of Emergency, coming to ABC Wednesday at 9:30, 8:30 Central Time. Now I want to go back to the point we were making about Lloyd Carr and Michigan. What's different about his loss than if Pete Carroll had been on the other? I know we still got a quarter to play, so we don't want to count him out. But remember now, they have lost those 3 straight games to their arch rival, Troy Smith. So we're closing out 3 straight years with back-to-back losses, and that is what got John Cooper in Columbus. Don't forget, there's heavy heat when you lose to your arch rival and then you go into the bowl game and also lose. There's going to be media pressure. Now, I'm not going to say there's going to be any heat within the administration. Bill Martin is very, very loyal to Lloyd Carr, loves what he's done. He's accomplished so much, and I'm not trying to start anything, but I do know that the media and the people on the websites and the bloggers, they're going to come after the coach.
Didn't they all get put away for the year after coming into this season? All we heard about was that Lloyd Carr possibly could get replaced, and all of a sudden he had a year that was very magical until they came up a little bit short in Columbus. I thought we put the bloggers away for a year.
They're going to come put them away for an hour and a half. You got to be kidding me.
So they're going to come back, huh? If they don't.
They're tapping away right now.
They're listening to you tapping away.
You know what? I'm not really worried about the bloggers. But I'll tell you this, when you lose your last 2 football games of the year, the only way to get over a tough loss is to win a game. You have to wait an awful long time to play again if you're Lloyd Carr.
Now, remember now, Kirk, you said you thought you put him away. That was 2006.
Right. What a new year.
I turned the calendar.
Start. You're right.
They'll be out there on the 20-yard line. And remind at the beginning tomorrow, you can download all the action from today's game on iTunes.
I'll tell you what, Pete Carroll's probably drawing the blitzes up on the sidelines now because Michigan's getting to a point where they have to obviously throw the football.
Trailing by 16. And he rolls out and comes underneath to his tight end. He blasted out of bounds after a couple-yard gain. Tyler Ecker is hit by Keith Rivers. Keith Rivers, the junior from Lake Mary, Florida, has been very active here for the Trojans.
No, I don't know if you're necessarily surprised that USC's defense is playing well. I mean, again, Pete Carroll telling us all year this is the fastest defense that he's had. What I'm surprised by is the way they've taken the life completely away from Michigan's team. I mean, you look at the sidelines these last couple quarters, and it's just a bunch of maize and blue standing around waiting for their assignment. On the other side of the field, there's a lot of excitement that we've seen in the second half.
Well, what happens when you make a living running the football like Michigan and you're able to take that away? You take away their heart now. They've survived all year with that zone running game, Michigan.
Here's 2nd down and 7 for the Wolverines. Preston for a 1st down to the 35-yard line, and Rivers again, number 55, and that's a famous number, isn't it, here at USC? Some great players. Junior Seau wore that number, and a lot of folks believe that Junior Seau is one of the greatest college linebackers of all time. He's pretty good in the NFL too, come to think of it. 1st down and 10. Henne, Manningham, 9 more yards, and pushed out of bounds by Harris.
I tell you one thing, Chad Henne can throw that deep out about as good as anyone now, and he rifled that throw.
They're in predictable play calling mode right now because they have to throw, but I think that's where Chad Henne, a lot of times we've seen where he can get into his own rhythm, sometimes in even a better rhythm when he gets back there, gets his feet set, and gets rid of the football than at times where he has struggled within the offense.
Ohio State.
Yeah, when they got back in a little bit of a desperation mode, they were able to make some plays.
Second down and 1. Henne slips, steps away, can run for the 1st down. He slides into it and takes a lift from Cushing. 1 quarter to go for Chad Henne and Michigan. Trailing by 16. Now the Rose Bowl game presented by City returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Quarter of a USC lead here, 19-3. They struck first. Michigan tied it at 3. They went to the intermission, deadlocked at that. But here in the second half, USC has taken over. Mike Hart has been held to 42 yards, and now basically he's a blocker for Henne. And again into the hands of Tyler Ecker, and he is surrounded. Leading defender there was Dallas Sartz. So with Hart being held to 42 yards, you can say that the Trojan defense has taken away Michigan's heart and heart.
It's where that 37 games starting in the career of Chad Henne comes into play, working a no-huddle offense with so much time still to go.
Short of the 1st down. It's been tough for the little man today. Cedric Ellis, the junior, is right there, and he's another of those talented Trojans coming back next year. He's a junior. That defensive front, sophomore, junior.
They are stopping Mike Hart today because they're getting penetration with the defensive line, Brent, and also just completely running downhill with those linebackers.
On 3rd and 2, wide open. Ecker for the 1st and 10, battles his way to the 23-yard line. There is a penalty flag, however. Hold on, thrown back around the 49-yard line.
I think we're going to get Dallas Sartz going up high a little bit and late on Chad Henne.
Roughing the passer, number 42 in the defense. Half the distance to the goal from the end of the run. 1st down.
A very well officiated game by this ACC crew. No question about that. Came very late.
Brent, it's a good call, but the line doing a good enough job that time to allow Chad Henne to find the open receiver. But Dallas Sartz coming very close to getting in there on time, but it's definitely a late hit.
You really do see the ability, though, of Chad Henne in the comeback ability of this Michigan football team.
End zone, hanging on, touchdown, Adrian Arrington. Finally, they get the ball into Arrington's hands, and it's for a touchdown. I believe they'll go for 2 here. The signal from the sideline. They're going to go for 2. Down 16, Lloyd didn't hesitate.
The blitz in one-on-one coverage on the outside. Arrington and Terrell Thomas, pretty good coverage, but a seed thrown by Chad Henne to the inside to give his receiver the chance to make the catch.
Starts Arrington in motion. It's Hart. Busts the first tackle. Got it. Game on.
And I'll tell you, it's a chess game. He checked to that run because of the look of the USC defense.
Well, this is what Michigan needed to spark themselves to get back into the game. Chad Henne leads them right down the field, making some big throws, and they get the two-point conversion from Michael Hart.
Back to within one score here in the fourth quarter. Another look.
This is what Michigan needed. You have Chad Henne. We talked about how he's in rhythm when he seems to be in a little bit of a rush, desperation mode, and a great throw that time to Arrington.
And with Chad Henne and Michael Hart, you knew Michigan was not going to go away. That was a great run right there for the touchdown, for the two-point conversion. Excuse me.
Chad Henne, 6 of 6 on that drive for 62 yards, and of course the touchdown.
Gable and Reed are back deep. Ball on the tee for Rivas, and here we go. Picked off by Gable, the running back. There's Hood pulling him down at the 26. We check in with Bonnie.
Brent, you guys were right when you said that touchdown jump-started Chad Henne. In fact, he was just telling me this week these pressure situations are what he thrives on. He says, I love having that on my shoulders, like I have to lead my team to victory. And he referenced back to week 3 against Notre Dame. He said, up until that point, we didn't show that we had a passing game. Notre Dame was number 2. We had a 3-game losing streak up in South Bend. And in that first half, Brent, you might remember, he hooked up with Mario Manningham for 3 touchdowns. Right now, this is Chad Henne's prime situation.
Yeah, exactly, Bonnie. And right now, John David Booty will try to keep the chains moving. Just right at the chain with that strike to Jarrett. Looks like he could have been about a half yard short.
And Coach, you made an interesting point earlier about SC has a lead, but they don't have the ability to run the ball against Michigan. Do they continue to tack with the 8-point lead into the fourth quarter? They continue to throw against this Michigan defense where they have the advantage, or do they eventually try to have to work some clock by trying to do something they're not comfortable with in running?
Knowing Pete Carroll's personality, he is going to keep attacking, and deep down he knows he really cannot run the football against Michigan.
Adewale in at fullback. Play fake. Booty, as he was going out of bounds, throws it downfield, and that's incomplete. Fred Davis was the intended target. He goes out of bounds on that far side. So now it'll be 3rd down and short coming up here for the Trojans.
The reason I ask you that, Coach, is I know you're a conservative guy by nature. So this is going to be painful for you to watch, because as good as John David Booty is, you're one interception away or one mistake away from Michigan getting the ball.
How do you know I'm conservative? Is it because the clothes I wear? Or, I mean, what is it? Brent, why does he think I'm conservative?
Force me. 3rd and 1. John David did it once earlier, and now he comes back with the first down, right straight ahead behind Ryan Khalil. A little bit of an undersized, but a very talented senior center from Corona, California.
The reason I think you're a conservative guy is anytime this year we've had 4th and short, I'm up here saying, go for it, go for it. You're up here saying, punt, punt.
And I tell you, this guy right here, I mean, he is consistent with his philosophy. He is going to keep throwing this football. You can count on that.
1st and 10. Play fake. Got all the time in the world. Gable underneath, and Harris said nowhere to go. David Harris, their leading tackler, their senior from Grand Rapids. wraps up another one.
It's always amazing to see how a touchdown for your own offense can affect the momentum and the play of your own defense. Even though SC is still having some success, at least the energy from up here looks to be very different from this Michigan defense and the way they're attacking USC here. We'll see if it pays off for them or if it ends up allowing SC to make a big play.
Second and 10. Deflected incomplete, and now it is 3rd and 10. And, it was hit that time by Sean Crable, who deflected it. And do you know, Kirk, what pleases Pete Carroll the most? Not about that particular play, but the whole scene here this afternoon. What pleases him the most for Pete Carroll is as he looks across the sideline, he doesn't see one Vince Young. That pleases him more than anything.
Very good point.
3rd and 10.
First time the Michigan crowd has come alive in the entire game.
Booty, deep Jarrett, the foot race for the end zone. 10-5 score it. .62 yards on a 3rd down.
Now you're hearing the USC crowd because the Michigan crowd has been silenced. John David Booty on 3rd and long comes up with a great throw. SC will get penalized for excessive celebration, but the touchdown will count.
I'm not sure about that. We might have had a late hit on Behringer in the end zone. Let's let this. Yes, there's the personal foul was dropped down.
I just saw the point.
Watch Jarrett. He's taunting him a little bit. Now, well, we'll get to take another look at it. But this is going to be a personal foul against Michigan. That's what's going to be.
Okay.
And I think he's going to let him make a decision here. And he'd say on the kickoff, yeah, we got it. So he's all over it. That's good officiating right there. Don't you hate it when they take too much time?
After the score, there was a dead ball, personal foul, number 19 of the defense. That penalty will be administered on the succeeding kickoff. Touchdown.
And you know the amazing thing about that play, they have him bracketed, double teamed. You see Willis Behringer right there on the late hit, but they committed 2 guys in bracket coverage on Dwayne Jarrett. And how about Keyshawn Johnson's opinion now? I think we have seen the last of our young man Darryl Jarrett in college football game.
Boy, that was an ugly looking extra point attempt. He pulled this one over to the left. He's missed his 2nd one now. Wow. He has missed a couple of extra points, one to the right and one to the left. That was like me trying to hit a golf ball, trying to guide that thing. Jarrett to the end zone on 3rd and 10, 62 yards. Pete Carroll going down the sideline.
Full-size Nissan Titan, the proud sponsor of the BCS, and tough guys everywhere.
I'm here to talk about the Sprint network. Assisting me is Henry Alshman, attorney. Sprint has the largest voice calling area and the largest mobile broadband network. No one has a more powerful network. It even protects us from meteors. Well, that's the word on the street.
Switch to the Sprint Power Network. Buy one Katana, get one free. Sprint. Power up.
Why you always get the front seat?
Because I have a higher education.
What you
I took honors classes.
In high school.
Hey, it's Bobby Bowden.
I'm gonna touch him.
Now would be a good time to have accident forgiveness.
I'm still gonna touch him. part of Allstate Your Choice Auto Insurance. Are you in good hands?
That wasn't him. But you still touched him.
Exclusive coverage of the Rose Bowl game presented by Citi. Brought to you by Citi. It's easier to get the rewards you want. The BCS, presented by the Nissan Titan. Sprint. Sprint. Power up. And Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Because of the penalty, kicking off from midfield, and Beeler will nail this one, almost a souvenir. And now Jarrett, 10 catches, 176 yards, and this is second touchdown.
Well, it's 3rd and 10, so you know that USC wants to try to get the ball to Dwayne Jarrett. But look at the two Michigan defenders. There's a little bit of confusion. They are both responsible. As Coach says, it's a bracket defense. The safety is the mistake that's made is by the safety, Willis Behringer. I think there was indecision there in thinking that Leon Hall had him covered, and that confusion led to the big touchdown.
Look, I've seen that
Jarrett.
so many times when you play in and out coverage. You get clever. You think you have 2-on-1. No one is sure who has him, and he splits you right down the middle.
25-11. Back on a 14. USC's missed 2 extra points, and now it is second down and 10 after the deflection.
And that's an amazing 3rd down and 10 play that just took Michigan out of this football game.
I was going to say 3rd and 10 with Michigan making the touchdown, converting on the 2-point conversion, coming back. Defense makes some plays, get them to 3rd and 10, and then USC in typical Pete Carroll fashion, they go for the jugular and get the big score.
Throwing to his tight end, Tyler Ecker has been one of his preferred targets here in the second half.
And
That's
really,
5 catches. He's the leading receiver for Michigan in this game.
You know, Brent, it really is shocking that Michigan defense, which is a great defense, how many big plays they've given up these last 2 games to Ohio State and USC. It's
How
shocking.
about those 2 50-plus-yard touchdown runs in Columbus that we saw? And now they come right back with a big one of their own with Ecker. And he's got a first down at the Trojans 39. So the Wolverines firing right back.
Well, anytime you want to split a safety in a corner and try to hit a seam, you have to have a quarterback that has the ability to put the ball on a rope. That's exactly what Chad Henne did that time, and getting the ball thrown before Taylor Mays, the safety, came over to knock it down.
36 yards, and that gives Ecker a 78-yard afternoon. And here comes Mike Hart, picking up a couple more. And one of the storylines of the game is the way that defense has stopped him. Well, college game day built by Home Depot coming up at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. Reese Davis, Lou Holtz, Mark May, they'll have all the highlights, all the latest news for you. And again, that's 8:30 Eastern or 5:30 out here on the Pacific Network as we come to the top of the hour. Henne fires complete. Manningham first down at the 20-yard line.
When Chad Henne has time to throw, he has as strong his arm as you'll see in the country. And that time, the protection. Where's the protection been? Gave him time to throw. He'll find an open receiver.
Screen set up with Hart. Nothing doing. They lose 5 yards. Ellis, who has played a sensational game along with Mamaluga.
Kirk, one thing you talk about, where has that protection been? You know, when both teams start throwing the football as much as they're throwing here in the second half, those defenses start to get tired now, rushing that passer. So it's a little bit different tempo right now for these blitzes by USC than they were in the first half. They're a little bit tired.
In underneath. And not even back at the original line of scrimmage. That's Arrington who caught the scoring strike from Henne. And this will bring up a 3rd down. Oscar Lua, senior linebacker, one of the leaders of this SC team. making the stop, number 45.
There's some talent on this football field now.
Oh, yeah.
There are some big-time playmakers on both sides.
Third down. And it'll be fourth down. Trailing by 14 with 8:11 to go.
This time Chad Henne feels pressure. Once he steps up into the pocket, Moala actually went by him. He had time to get his feet underneath him and make an accurate throw, but he hurried it, feeling that pressure, and threw it before he had his feet ready to make an accurate throw to give his receiver a chance. That might have been a first down.
The Jarrett touchdown has turned this game around. Michigan could go for a field goal here if they'd been down 8. Now down 14 with 8:11. They've got to go for it on 4th 11. Need to reach the 10-yard line for a first down, or they turn it over. Can Preston get it? He slips and he's down. Down at the 15, 5 yards short. USC football.
Again, the arm strength of Chad Henne to get that football out there, because he almost slipped. Watch right there, and then he throws it really flat-footed.
Well, he was lucky to get the ball off. He gathered himself and got the ball thrown to the outside, but still, even if Preston keeps his feet, he's not going to pick up a first down.
Yeah, some folks will tell you, you got to throw to the first down marker on a big fourth down like that. Timeout. 25-11. 8:02 left for the Wolverines. And there's Coach Holt and his defense over on the other side. They've played a whale of a game. Now John David Booty and the offense will see if they can eat away some precious minutes here. Pump fake. Near side, Smith grabs it. Out of bounds around the 40-yard line. Let's check in down below with Bonnie.
Brad, Mike Hart missed the last few plays on Michigan's drive. Paul Schmidt, Wolverines head trainer, was looking at his right shoulder, but we don't have a diagnosis just yet. Paul moved away from Hart, and he's just kind of sitting on the bench, but as soon as I get any information, we'll let you know.
All right, Bonnie. We didn't appear, as we looked at him when you were giving that report, that was serious, but certainly you never know. He went down. He was a little bit of pain there.
Yeah, he got jammed into the turf a little bit. Took a lot of weight on that shoulder. How about this USC offense? How about that last play?
They weren't working the clock. They were firing for 26 yards, and here he comes again. Jarrett again at the 30-yard line, and he hands it to Behringer. Now, you might want to say that's a little bit unsportsmanlike right there also. 29 more yards for Jarrett.
Well, Dwayne Jarrett must have seen Calvin Johnson's performance today in his bowl game, because he is putting on a similar clinic here in the second half, going up into the air, making the catch that time, and showing that ability to high point it.
I'm going to say one thing about wide receivers. They should emulate Larry Fitzgerald and not Terrell Owens, and I mean it, okay? First down and 10. Play the game. Ball is at the 30-yard line. Play fake. Near side, and Davis brings it in. Inside the 10-yard line. The passing show continues.
They continue to attack downfield with a 14-point lead. Under 7 minutes to go.
Let me ask you guys something. Officially, there's no NFL team in Los Angeles.
They're right here.
Sure this is not an NFL team?
They're right here.
I mean, look at this play.
Former wide receiver comes in handy this time. One-on-one with Sean Crable. Goes up into the air.
That is unbelievable.
Makes a nice catch.
This makes that UCLA loss even more shocking to me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, come on.
Last 3 pass plays, 26, 29, and 23 yards, giving the Trojans first and goal. Under pressure, touchdown. Smith. John David Booty being picked up with a huge smile on his face, and he showed a lot of courage here today.
Fred Davis clears out David Harris right there in the middle of the field, opening it up nicely. Well-designed play by USC, and they have continued to attack the safeties and the linebackers of this Michigan defense.
Booty got sandwiched by Lamar Woodley and Tim Jamison and hung in there.
Here's Danilo. Tacks it on this time. It's a relief for the young man. Well, John David Booty, I said he was going to go to work on the clock. He went to work instead on yardage. 4 for 4, 85 yards, and another touchdown pass. Against the Michigan defense. John David Booty has shredded them for 391 yards and 4 touchdowns. They have outscored this defense 29-8 in the second half. What a difference. The two sidelines.
And Brent, they are 28 passes and 4 runs in the second half, the USC offense.
You called it. They had the pass. They're a passing team. They've done a fabulous job on Preston, too. Well, let's take a look at the city game summary of this, the 93rd Rose Bowl game. And 237 yards allowed. An interception by Jackson. They've had 6 sacks. Then that strike to Arrington. They were within 8, but Jarrett against the bracket coverage broke free. His second touchdown of the afternoon. And it is 32-11. Jarrett 11 catches, 206 yards, and 2 of Booty's 4 touchdown passes. Brandon Minor stays in the game, so Mike Hart over there on the sideline. Going down the far side, incomplete. He overthrew Manningham, and he was double covered down there. Terrell Thomas was there with Taylor Mays, the outstanding freshman safety from Seattle, Washington. There you are, folks. You're seeing one of the biggest safeties in the country. It'll be interesting watching him through the years if he can keep his weight down and stay at safety, or they'll have to move him up to linebacker. His daddy played the NFL. He was out at practice the other day, and this is a very, very fine, talented young man right here.
Player of the year in the state of Washington last year as a high school senior.
2nd and 10. Pops was telling me he had a tough time getting over the UCLA loss, but about 4 days, he said, before he came out of his funk. Kept wondering what he could have done differently. And there's Manningham pushed out of bounds on the far side by Kerry Harris. We check in with Bonnie.
Checked in with Paul Schmidt, the Wolverines trainer. He's telling me that Mike Hart's shoulder is fine. However, he's not on the field, so make your own conclusions, Brent.
Well, Bonnie, it is getting late, and they're down 32-11. Mike has already said that he's coming back next year. It's been a very tough afternoon. I think that the defense against Mike Hart is by far the best that I have seen this year. The first man hitting him, and they have gang tackled him, and he just didn't have much daylight.
Not a chance to make a play in the open space, open field at all. They've just closed the gaps completely with this SC D-line and linebackers.
We wondered which team would overcome the severe disappointment of losing their final regular season game. And I think that question has been answered. We thought that Michigan might bounce back because they really had the second spot of the BCS taken away from them by a vote, whereas USC was beaten by their arch rival UCLA on the field. But the Trojans came ready to play here today, especially on defense. There's a drop pass by the Wolverines, and we come down now to the final 5:50. And Kirk and Bob, I think both of you agree with me that the way this game is headed, the Trojans will open the season under Pete Carroll as the preseason. No, folks, don't tell him that. He'll jump all over. Yeah. He jumped on me with both feet when I suggested that to him. He said, I don't care.
We're not worried about that.
Yes.
We're focused on this game and winter conditioning. But you're right. With this impressive a win, with how many guys that are returning, it's tough not to imagine them up at number 1.
Not just returning. I want to show you some of their not draft folks, but the fellas who've committed verbally incomplete, who are going to come. Let's check in on the USC. Now remember, Pete Carroll, if you weren't with us, has said to us, this class coming in is the best recruiting class I've ever had. Now there you have a linebacker from Anaheim, extremely highly rated. There's Wendell Tyler's son. Wendell was a great running back at UCLA and the NFL. Got a quarterback from Villa Park. He's got a backup quarterback by the name of Sanchez, and Sanchez will have a chance to win the job. Defensive linemen, offensive linemen. They're coming from all over next year, and Pete's going to give them a chance, as he always has, to start next year when the season opens.
Yeah, he played 15 true freshmen this year.
3rd and 10. Stepping up and could not hook up with his receiver, Carson Butler, the sophomore tight end.
If Dwayne Jarrett ends up leaving, think about Steve Smith and Chris McFoy all being seniors, those two being seniors. The only area where you're going to have to see some inexperience step up, and this is the only area, is wide receiver. You're going to have some young wide receivers emerge to have the kind of team that you would expect to have. And the way they recruit, I'm sure that will not be a problem for USC.
They'll find a few. Fielded at the 30-yard line, and that's Reed to the 40. And USC 5 minutes away from winning another Rose Bowl. They hold more wins here than any other school, and they're about to add another. Wisconsin and Penn State with huge wins for the Big Ten, but here Michigan on the short end against USC of the Pac-10. What does it mean for Ohio State? You are left to wonder, and you can make your own conclusions. With 5:10 to go, the championship down in Glendale next Monday. And the key guy has been Dwayne Jarrett. That was Washington, the running back.
I think we knew if John David Booty had time to throw, he was going to make some plays, and he has found Dwayne Jarrett 11 times, 205 yards for 2 touchdowns, has completely dominated the Michigan secondary, men against boys, when Booty has had time to throw in this second half. And again, you look at Dwayne Jarrett, you compare him to some of the best receivers in the country. The only one that comes to mind is Calvin Johnson, who finally had a chance to get the ball thrown to him today, and he also had a great game.
Bradford is in as the running back. He throws over his head. We check in down below with Lisa.
Well, Brent, for those who think or thought that Dwayne Jarrett isn't ready to turn pro, Keyshawn Johnson, I asked Dwayne Jarrett about it, and he said, you know, for folks who believe that, I do respect their opinion. I respect what Keyshawn has to say. But Dwayne said, what makes them think that I wouldn't continue to work once I do go to the NFL? He said, even if I'm not physical enough, and I believe that I am, I would still continue to work at that level. And I said, Dwayne, it sounds like you're leaning towards declaring yourself eligible for the draft. And he said, no, don't put words in my mouth, but if I were, I would continue to work at the next level. Brent?
Yeah, sounds like a heavy lean.
Oh.
Goodbye.
And there is the young man, Alan Bradford.
What happens when you go through that process of declaring whether to come out or not? It's hard to know who to trust, because it seems like everybody has an agenda. You know, you talk about the dynamics of a bowl game, all these players announcing, particularly for Michigan, they're coming back. Think of the dynamics of those players that are backups behind those guys now that are forced to wait another year with the starter returning. So many things go into bowl game preparation. That's why sometimes a different team shows up to play than you had the last time you coached them in the regular season.
Talking about who to trust, they have the luxury of having Pete Carroll, a coach who they really trust his opinion.
Woodley closing in, and down goes John David Booty. So LaMarr Woodley coming in, and that will be the second sack of this game for the Wolverines, and it'll bring up a 2nd and 18. And John David said, let's just go on down and keep that clock ticking.
I think it'll be interesting to see where LaMarr Woodley ends up in the draft. Brent, you know, he's a little bit undersized to be a true defensive end. He's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he hasn't had a lot of success playing that position.
So Mark Sanchez, we get to take a look at the young man. And remember what we told you, despite this great performance, 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, The young man here, the freshman from Mission Viejo, California, will have a chance to compete. And if you've had a chance to watch or see tape on him, this young man has a rifle arm. He's mobile. He's one of the better young quarterbacks in the country. That is going to be one of the great duels of the spring between Sanchez and John David Booty. Now, Sanchez had a crack at the job last spring, and then there was a little off-the-field incident, and I think involving Sanchez and a woman here at USC, but that seemed to disappear, and the team and Pete Carroll, they've stood solidly behind Sanchez in that situation, and it is 3rd down and 15. Here is the toss play with Bradford, and he would like to have stayed in bounds, but he ran out with it.
Pete Carroll may tackle him over there on the sideline.
Hey, you think that USC team's having a little more fun over on that sidelines than they did the last time?
Well,
last two times.
Last 2 times.
Yeah, 1 year ago from today, or close to it.
You know, I was a little worried about USC being flat. Just practicing at their same practice facility, staying in the same hotel, a little bit of a mundane schedule, kind of used to doing it.
I think they were early, though. I think that's why Pete Carroll was, and some of the coaches were over there trying to get the crowd into the game. And I think second half, the throwing that we talked about, you talked about, all of a sudden opened some things up.
Delay foul against the offense, snapping the ball prior to ready for play. That's a 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Boy, he's got to feel good, doesn't he? John David Booty.
It just goes to show you that the end of the year for USC with Oregon and then Cal and then Notre Dame leading up to the UCLA game, I think a lot of people assumed the hay was in the barn after they got through the 3 games, and I think that's what affected USC when they played UCLA is they didn't expect much of a game from UCLA. They didn't show up to play.
Out of bounds, and it's going to be marked at about the, he's still walking, about the 30-yard line. So a reminder now, folks, coming up, the Built Ford Tough post game with interviews and the trophy presentation to Pete Carroll and the USC Trojans.
John David Booty, Chad Henne, both in the Heisman race, you'd have to think next year, along with Michael Hart.
Well, there's some great running backs returning next year. Michael Hart will be up there. Darren McFadden, Steve Slayton, along with these quarterbacks.
Might have been the last time to see those two fellows as teammates. 1st down and 10. We'll see how everything unfolds. Preston. He stays in bounds.
You know, Preston, you had to be impressed, Brent, when we visited with him the other day. He told us a story about his 3 older brothers. One graduated from Pitt, one from Penn State, and one from Thiel College in Pittsburgh. And he was the 4th that graduated. He told us his mom cried when he walked across that stage and got his diploma. That's a heck of a statement right there.
Isn't it, though? What a great feeling for Mom, huh? Raising those youngsters. Preston played a little quarterback in high school. It'll be interesting to see how he does with that speed. He'll certainly get a chance as a return man, if nothing else. And they probably use him as a slot receiver in the NFL and see what kind of production they can get.
So, Brent, 32-11. Let's assume this is the final. You think back in Ann Arbor, the bloggers are out, and we've got trouble in Ann Arbor for Lloyd Carr after the way the Ohio State series has gone and the way these bowl games have gone?
I don't think there's any question. You can book it. 2nd down and 10. Henne. The 3rd straight year that you lose the combination to Ohio State and then the bowl game. That brings pressure.
Sure. I mean, it's amazing to think that the team is number 2 in the country, 11-0 going into their rivalry game. 2 games later, the bloggers are back out.
You know what? Not so much the bloggers, but again, think if they would have won this game. And every time he walks into an alumni meeting, every time he gets up to speak, it's talking about coach. Everything's positive. You're the preseason #1. Instead now, he has to spin everything and try to find some positives, even though he's an 11-2 team as he ends the season. So it's a completely different lifestyle for the head coach based on whether you win the ball or lose the ball in the offseason.
the strike. And, you know, you've got to make sure that the recruits show up. We've got some great verbal commitments. If you wondered about Ryan Mallett, the outstanding quarterback from Texarkana, Texas, that he will be in school here in a few days. So when Brantley decommitted from Texas to go to Florida, there was talk that the Horns might go after Mallett. They probably did. Just checked in. As you know, Lefty Drizel's great comment: when somebody commits verbally, at least you know who the competition is. So there's Ryan Mallett, and he's a big rascal. And they got the wide receiver. That's a great name, isn't it? Junior Hemingway. And there's Butch Woolfolk's son, a defensive back from Sugar Land, Texas. Jeremy Finch out of Indianapolis, DB. Ryan Van Bergen out of Whitehall, Michigan, defensive end. So there's some top players coming into it. That's a very good recruiting class.
Yeah, and Lloyd Carr and the Michigan staff always seem to close strong as well. So I'm sure you'll see even more names surface between now and signing day.
2nd and 10. Juggling Preston. 10-yard line, 5 for the corner. Got the touchdown. And that's why Steve Preston will get a long look in the NFL. That's 41 yards, folks. And that's some major speed right there.
That's man-to-man. Henny going to, instead of Matthews, who cut underneath, who was open, he decides to wait, gets the ball to Steve Preston, and it was just a foot race. Once he made the catch, it was a foot race with Terrell Thomas.
Terrell Thomas, USC's best corner. Good to see this young guy finish his career at Michigan with a big-time play like that. He's played a lot of football for Michigan.
Rivas tacks on the extra point. There's a penalty flag. Didn't have a single penalty in the first half. Pretty clean overall. This is just about the 6th time. Couldn't stop it even with the extra man.
What a comeback after the UCLA game for USC and for especially John David Booty and this offensive line of USC.
The guy in that Michigan hat, he better get used to wearing that big old cold weather hat. They better have soaked up all the sunshine they could handle the last couple of days, because
well, you won't see the sun until April or May.
That's like you.
Yeah, me too. So I'm soaking it in myself. It'll come back mid-April.
Illegal participation, 12 players on the field against the defense. That penalty is refused. The extra point is successful.
Last minute coming up.
As you guys said, it's great to see a senior get a chance to make a play. I know the game is out of reach at this point, but Henny is not giving up. He finds the senior Preston. Once he holds on to the ball, as I said, he shows the speed that you guys are talking about. That'll probably have some NFL scouts interested in what he can offer at the next level. He outruns Terrell Thomas.
Yeah, the combination of punt return, kick return, third wide receiver. Steve Preston will have a legitimate shot. That's as good as it gets right there. Winning the bowl game, bouncing back from that UCLA game.
Look at that smile. There's Ken Norton Jr. with his back right to you there on the left-hand side.
Is there
Steve.
A better-looking coach for as far as a USC position? You put a pair of sunglasses on the guy. He's not allowed to coach anywhere else. I mean, he's perfect for USC.
I think he knows it. I think he's a smart fellow about that.
He is.
And I'll tell you something else, though. He does pay attention to what's going on in the NFL. You want to have a conversation with somebody who knows what's happening around the entire football world. He's a football junkie. I mean, I'm telling you, he is something. Garrett Rivas and Mr. Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. Interesting to read his comments that they perhaps weren't ready for Pete Carroll, and that they certainly dismissed him too early. Remember, he was up there for a few years, had the Jets for a year. Brian Cushing, who's played very well. He led that assault in the first half. 32-18.
Yeah, you see that big smile from Pete Carroll, and if you're not familiar with him, and they got him with some water. If you're not familiar with him and his style, he likes to have fun, But you won't find a coach and a coaching staff that works any harder than USC during a 2.5 hour practice.
Time to party down.
They got him.
That was a good pass.
That was perfect.
That was good.
Everything's going right.
That's right. They didn't fumble the jug. Gable back in. He stays in bounds.
For those bowl games remaining, this is the technique that you want to use.
See, that guy right there was in on the plan.
He's a decoy.
You see how he distracted the attention right there?
He's like, oh, Coach, I'll hold your headphones just for a second if I could, but congratulations on the big win. See him pointing to him.
Guys, we've had a great season, haven't we?
Oh, it's been great.
We have seen some big-time ball games now.
We're ready for next year.
32-18. And, of course, coming up, we're going to have that Built Ford Tough postgame. We'll have interviews, the trophy presentation to the Trojans. John David Booty wins a bowl game, and there's his favorite target, 11 catches for 205 yards and a pair of touchdowns for Dwayne Jarrett. I see that confetti, and I still think about that magical Vince Young last year. A year later, USC comes in and captures the bowl. There they are. They're the Rose Bowl champions. ABC.